All right, everyone, welcome into Gallagher Arena. I'm Ben Hutchens with my fellow O'Colly women's basketball beat reporters, Jacob Sturm and Sam Hutchens. We are here covering the Oklahoma State Cowgirls game against the Texas Tech Lady Raiders. Guys, it was a 75-48 victory, as we just saw, for the Cowgirls. Fellows, opening thoughts on tonight's game?
This was really, I think, a very impressive victory for the Cowgirls. And it's easy to say that, looking back, 75-48, it's easy to look at that just based on the score. But, if you break it down, there's only one way you win 75-48 against a fellow team in the Big 12 that has some wins under their belt. Texas Tech's a solid team, and that's by dominating on offense and on defense. And I know Coach Littell wasn't as high on the offense. He said that, the victory was mostly in root because of the defense, and we'll certainly need to hype up the defense. But I think a great performance on both ends. Jamie Asbury set a career high in points. She was 6 for 6 from the three-point line, and she had 3 threes early to really jumpstart this offense and get it going for the Cowgirls. And then they never looked back. The Cowgirls only gave up 9 points in the first quarter, and great defense, forced a lot of turnovers. I was really impressed tonight.
Yeah, I was too. I think, when you look at a game and you see what OSU's defense did, I mean, you're expecting to be up by as many points as they were up by for a majority of this basketball game, at least. And, there's a lot of I kind of thought coming in there was going to be some emotions. You're playing against players that were on this team last year. You think, there's going to be a little bit of just trying to get a quick start going. But I thought for the most part, they looked better throughout the entire game. They never really died off, and they never had that slow, sluggish point where they kind of let Texas Tech back into the game. It looked like they got out in front and they stayed out in front, and they didn't really concede that.
Yeah, Jacob, obviously there was a lot of emotions. Return of Vivian Gray and Bryn Gerlich inside Gallagher Arena. And, people, myself included, we all three kind of wondered, what would that look like? Would the Cowgirls be able to keep their composure? And guys, Jacob, you just said we were kind of waiting for that run where maybe Texas Tech comes back into the game and kind of equalizes, but it never came. Texas Tech, they scored 100 their last time out against Incarnate World in their previous game. And guys, tonight didn't even get to half of that. In 2 quarters, they scored less than 10 points. They went 9 in the first and 9 in the third. So I think this defense is really what kind of, maybe like equalized the game. And, Asbury's tremendous play offensively is what helped the Cowgirls pull away.
Yeah, Ben, if you look, that's been, I guess, the problem for the Cowgirls in games past when they haven't been able to, when they haven't won was, they maybe get a lead and then they can't hang on. So I know I think Coach Tell mentioned that in the post-game presser he was proud how his team really put together 4 quarters. That's what he led with, is he was saying, 4 complete quarters of basketball. And yeah, Ben, like you said, the Cowgirls forcing 21 turnovers. They got 13 fast break points. And, I think that was a big thing, was keeping the Cowgirls had control of this game the entire time. And, that was because their defense made it, they made it laborious for Texas Tech on every offensive possession. It was, they ground the shot clock to a nub and, were deflecting balls and stealing balls. And then when the Cowgirls would get the ball, they'd run down the court with one pass and you'd have a wide open shooter. And, Jamie Asbury showed don't leave her open tonight. And, so like I said, I think just an impressive victory in all facets for the Cowgirls. And that's how you win 75-48 against a quality team in the Texas Tech Red Raiders.
Yeah, and I just want to throw this in there because we're talking about Jamie Asbury. And, I mean, going into the fourth quarter, she was trailing Texas Tech by 5 points. She had 28 points through 3 quarters. And, she didn't even score in the fourth quarter because she didn't have to, because they were up by so many points. If that was a competitive game, Jamie Asbury was just on point tonight. She was not going to lose. They were not going to lose that game. It just goes to show she was playing as well as I think I've ever seen her play. And then you look at the conference. You just look at where they're sitting in conference. This team is actually going to compete extremely well at the top of this conference now. Baylor is a tough matchup, and I don't know if that's going to be easy for anybody. But I think through 3 conference games, you have to look at this team and go, this team could compete basically night in and night out. And I mean, I think at this point we should start considering expecting it every single night, no matter who the opponent is.
And I think, Sam, you said, we were doing some research before this game. If OSU wins tonight, which they did against Texas Tech, doesn't that make them the tied leader of the Big 12 conference?
Yeah, that's correct. Baylor won today too, so both Baylor and the Cowgirls move up to 3-0 to start this season. And Jacob had a good note they talked about with Coach Littell. This is the first time in the Jim Littell era since I believe 2009, 2010 that the Cowgirls have opened up Big 12 play with 3 wins and 0 losses. And Coach Littell kind of joked. He said, well, there was a stretch there where we drew Baylor the first game for like 7 years, and that makes it really hard. And, obviously Kim Mulkey runs a juggernaut down there in Waco. But, hey, they're tied right now with Oklahoma State, and I'm sure the Cowgirls will take being tied with Baylor this season and seeing what they can do at the top of the standings in the Big 12. But, hey, they keep stacking wins in the Big 12, and that's all you can ask of a team to do, and they just keep doing it. So I'm impressed to see what they can do in the future.
Now, I think I harped on this last time we did one of these, but Coach Littell is coaching so well right now. This is incredible stuff what he's doing, and this team was projected 8th in the Big 12, and what he's done, it does not look like this team should be anywhere near 8th place.
Absolutely.
In his projection, because I mean a lot of it is the players and how they're executing, but I also think you have to be able to recognize what personnel you have and maximize how they can play and maximize how effective they are. And I think Coach Littell this season has done an incredible job of maximizing his talent on their bench specifically, but even the people that are starting every game, you can say he's maximized that value. And by doing that, I mean, you're seeing the results. I mean, 3-0 in the Big 12 conference is no easy task, and the Cowgirls have done it. So it certainly goes to show how far this team has come already this season.
I'm right there with you, Jacob. Guys, before we wrap it up, I wanted to ask you, quickly, what's the more impressive stat? Asbury's 6 for 6 from the 3-point line, or Natasha Mack's 10 first quarter rebounds?
Well, I will say Natasha, she got like 3 of those on one trip down the floor when she just she pretty much kept mossing people. Honestly, that's the only way I can describe it. And Texas Tech, they play small, they play 5 guards a lot of times, so Natasha might have been licking her chops a little bit. So that was an impressive stat. But I will say on the Jamie Asbury train, before we shut this down, she said that she did not take a day off on Christmas break. And I love to see her come out after that. And, I guess she had a bad taste in her mouth from maybe a poor or subpar performance in the North Texas game. And she comes out and goes 6 for 6 from the 3-point line, sets career high in points and field goals made. I think that's a good sign for the Cowgirls.
I'm gonna kind of agree with you. I'm gonna kind of tweak it a little bit though, because one of you asked in the press conference, what was more was it, how does it feel to shoot the same percentage from 3, like making to missing, then compared to us, like the same as us, because you just did not miss. I mean, that's something alone. I think just that question was glorious, but I think that's probably the most impressive stat that I took away from this from the game today. But I'd also argue starting 3-0 for the first time in a decade is probably right up there as well. So, I'll say both of those for my impressive stats, I guess.
Yeah, how about that? 3 impressive stats that the Cowgirls pulled out tonight in an impressive win. I know we keep using that I word, impressive, but Ben, it really was tonight.
That it was. Rebounds, we missed the same shots, same amount of threes as Asbury. So Jacob, Sam, congrats on your guys' shooting nights. I thought we did well from up here in the booth. Wrapping up a 75-69 48, Oklahoma State win. Guys, not the first Oklahoma State victory over Texas Tech on the basketball court today. Coach Hall mentioned the impressive job by Mike Boynton and the guys down in Lubbock. So that's it for the Oak-Holly women's basketball post-game recap. For Ben Hutchens, Jacob Sturm, Sam Hutchens, the three most lethal three-point shooters in the Oak-Holly. We appreciate you joining us.